The last relay. The Galactic Council had a rule about humans. Not an official rule, of course. Nothing so crude as that. But every species who had encountered them developed the same unspoken policy. Don't let them handle the critical systems. Humans were emotional, irrational. They bonded with their ships, named their weapons, and developed what the Wren called irrational attachments to inanimate objects and each other. So when the Thanatai swarm tore through the Meridian Relay Network, severing 12 systems from communication in a single standard cycle, the Council dispatched the Kelvari. Methodical, precise, calculated. The Kelvari failed. They dispatched the Fen. Adaptable, fast, numerous. The Fen failed. 6 relay stations fell. 700 billion souls went dark. It was Administrator Solve who finally made the call, and she did so with visible shame. Send the humans. Lieutenant Mira Chen hadn't slept in 31 hours. That was fine. She'd gone longer during the Academy survival exercises, the ones the other species called unnecessary and barbaric. Her crew was 12 humans on a retrofit courier ship called Stubborn Little Thing. The name had been her grandfather's idea. He'd named the original, then the replacement after the first one was destroyed, then the replacement after that. The third one's the charm, he'd said, grinning through a mouth missing 3 teeth, lost to a bar fight on Kalin Station. Humans, she thought, always getting attached to things that break. "Ma'am, we're approaching Relay Station 7, said Ensign Okafor from navigation. He was 22, barely out of training. The Council would have said he was too young. Mira had said he was hungry. There was a difference. "Status? Dark, no beacon, no response to hails." He paused. "No debris field either." That was interesting. The swarm didn't leave relay stations intact. They shredded them, harvested the conductor cores and moved on. Station 7 sitting there whole meant something else was going on. "Bring us alongside. Boarding team, suit up." The station was cold and dark and wrong. Not wrong in any way her instruments could measure. Wrong in the way that made the hair on her arms stand up. The way that made her jaw tighten. The way that made something ancient and mammalian whisper from the base of her brain. This is a place where things die. Corporal Dietrich felt it too. She could tell because he stopped making jokes. The conductor core was still there, intact. That was the good news. The bad news was the swarm organism wrapped around it like a cocoon. It was big, maybe 4 meters across, and it pulsed with a bioluminescent rhythm that reminded Mira uncomfortably of a heartbeat. Tendrils ran from its body into the relay systems, penetrating the walls, the floor, the ceiling. It was eating the station, slowly, methodically. But it wasn't destroying the core. It was using it. "It's networked," said Lieutenant Park, her chief engineer, running a scanner over the tendrils. "It's tapping into the relay signal, feeding data back through the network." "Data about what?" Park's face went pale in the blue glow of her scanner. "Us. Ship movements. Fleet positions. It's a spy, not a siege weapon. The swarm isn't destroying the network. They're listening to it." Mira understood then. Understood why the Kelvari had failed. They'd run standard defense protocols against what they thought was an attack. Understood why the Fen had failed. They'd tried to outmaneuver what they thought was a predator. They'd been wrong about what the swarm was doing. The organism pulsed. A tendril shifted. It had noticed them. "Everyone out," Mira said quietly. "Man, if we can isolate the now Park." They ran. Back on the stubborn little thing, Mira called a conference. 12 humans in a cramped common room, eating terrible coffee and staring at a holographic projection of the organism. "We can't destroy it without destroying the core," Park said. "And we can't detach it without triggering some kind of release mechanism. I saw what looked like spore pods in its mass. If we agitate it, it might seed the station and every ship nearby." "So we're stuck," said Okafor. Mira sipped her coffee. It was awful. She thought about her grandfather, who'd drunk worse coffee on worse ships and still found reasons to smile. "We're not stuck," she said. "We're just thinking about this wrong." She pulled up the relay schematics. The Galactic Council had built the network to be elegant, efficient. Every signal routed through optimal paths, every system interconnected for maximum throughput. Beautiful, fragile, predictable. The swarm figured out the network because the network is rational, Mira said. They're rational too, in their own way. They found the pattern and they exploited it. The Kelvari couldn't stop them because the Kelvari are the same kind of rational. The Fen couldn't stop them because the Fen adapt within rational parameters. She looked at her crew. "We're not rational." Dietrich laughed. "Ain't that the truth? I want to rewire the relay, not fix it, break it. Make it signal in ways the network wasn't designed to handle. Garbage data, wrong frequencies, feedback loops. Turn the relay into noise." Park's eyes widened. "A honeypot. We make it broadcast garbage. The organism picks it up and feeds it back into the swarm network. And suddenly, their intelligence network is full of static. Every relay they've compromised starts shouting nonsense at them." "But the Council will be furious," Okafor said. "We'd be violating like 17 network protocols." Mira smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a woman who had once watched her grandfather hotwire a Kelvari dreadnought using a pocket knife and a roll of duct tape because he didn't feel like waiting for authorization. "The Council isn't here, Ensign." It took them 9 hours. 9 hours of stripping wire, rerouting signals, and doing things to a Galactic Council relay station that would have given 3 different species heart attacks. Park built a feedback generator out of the ship's secondary comm array. Dietrich welded it to the station's external antenna. Okafor reprogrammed the relay's routing logic to reverse every 3rd signal and duplicate every 7th. It was, by any objective measure, insane. It was also, by any practical measure, brilliant. When they activated it, Relay Station 7 began broadcasting. But instead of clean, orderly data packets, it screamed. A howl of contradictory signals, reversed protocols, and fragmented noise that flooded the swarm network like a clogged artery. Within an hour, reports came in. Relay Stations 3, 5, 9, and 11 had gone dark. Not destroyed, but silenced. The swarm organisms, overwhelmed by garbage data, had detached and fled. Within 3 hours, the entire Meridian network was clear. The Council inquiry was, as predicted, furious. "You violated sacred network architecture," said the Kelvari representative, his mandibles clicking with outrage. "You introduced instability into a system designed for perfection." "You're welcome," said Mira. "The Fen would have solved it given enough time," said the Fen delegate. "No," Mira said, "you wouldn't have. Because you'd have kept looking for the smart solution, the elegant one, the one that fit inside your framework." She leaned forward. "The swarm is inside your framework. That's how they beat you. They think like you." "And humans don't," said Administrator Solve.
It wasn't a question. Mira thought about her grandfather, thought about the bar fight and the missing teeth and the 3 ships, all named the same thing, all destroyed and rebuilt and destroyed again, because he liked the name, and that was reason enough. Humans, she said, look at a perfect system, and our first instinct is to figure out how to break it. Not because we're destructive, because we want to know where the edges are. She stood. The swarm thought they understood the network. They were right. They understood your network. They didn't understand what happens when a human gets bored and decides to see what happens if she makes it do something it was never supposed to do.
The swarm thought they understood the network. They were right. They understood your network. They didn't understand what happens when a human gets bored and decides to see what happens if she makes it do something it was never supposed to do. Silence. The remaining relay stations will require extensive recalibration, the Kelvari representative said stiffly. I know a guy, said Mira. From the Journals of Administrator Solve, recorded post-incident. I have studied the humans for 40 standard years. I have documented their irrationality, their emotional volatility, their bizarre tendency to anthropomorphize everything from starships to small appliances. I no longer believe these are flaws. The galaxy is full of species who create perfect systems. The humans are the only species I have encountered who are built to survive imperfect ones. They do not shatter when the pattern breaks. They expect the pattern to break. They have a word for it in their oldest language: chaos. And rather than fearing it, they seem to consider it an old friend. I am not certain the humans are the most intelligent species in the galaxy. I am increasingly certain they are the most resilient. And I am beginning to suspect that, in a universe that is fundamentally hostile and unpredictable, that may be more important.